Today's Wednesday, June 20th.
You're right.
Am I, though?
There's every week we still get those people who post, I'm in the EU and it's not for me.
UTC is the only time zone.
That joke is so good every time. Never gets old.
There is only UTC. Because everything else is a Sisyphean punishment. It's just programming. Programming dates and times is hard and terrible.
Listen, let him keep posting that.
I disagree because I think if we're going to have a universal time, it needs to be based in the most powerful country in the world.
Madagascar.
Tesla's Autopilot to get full self-driving feature in August. Yeah, so Tesla, I don't think now would be a really good time for Elon Musk to be bragging about Autopilot going actual full Autopilot. Yeah. But, what do I know?
Well, there's that NTSB investigation that ruled that, in fact, the Autopilot sped up before hitting the median. And
it's funny because Musk is tweeting about that, too.
Yeah, so...
It was a fluke. Don't worry. Buy more cars.
But the argument that they give now is, hey, this is not full Autopilot. So you don't need to treat it like that. You still need to keep your hand on the wheel. And now they're unleashing something that they're going to call full Autopilot?
But not really. You should still keep your hands on the wheel, maybe.
Check out this tweet from Elon Musk. It says, that issue is better in the latest Autopilot software rolling out now and is fully fixed in the August update as part of our long-awaited Tesla version 9. To date, Autopilot resources rightly focused entirely on safety. With V9, we will begin to enable full self-driving features. That tweet's going to come back to haunt him as Exhibit A.
Yeah, that's... You shouldn't call it that. That's a bad idea. There's always the one guy in the comments, too, who really goes after us for only reporting negative Tesla stories.
Well, some of the stories, too, like someone mentioned, like a lot of them came out after we'd already filmed the news, and it's like, we can't know about stuff that comes forward. Like,
there's your positive one. And to follow that up,
Tesla Model S fire filmed by actress.
This is a minute-long video.
Yeah, you should go watch this.
This is her husband's car.
It is a huge jet of flame. It came out of a Tesla that was, according to the actress, who none of us have heard of, not caused by a collision. There was no damage to the car. It happened while they were driving the car. And
somebody pulled up beside them and was like, by the way, your car's on fire. Yeah. And they were like, what? And when they pulled over, the video starts.
And there was nothing that anybody thought. The car didn't warn them about anything. Nobody thinks anything was wrong with this car. It was a Model S, I believe. And it just burst into flame.
How do people tell you to roll down your windows now? Like, because before, you did the crank sign.
I think that's still universal.
Is that still universal? I don't think, kids my younger cousin's age.
Windows have the crank? They don't know.
They wouldn't know. Yeah, they'd be like, what are you doing? Are you saying I'm crazy? I don't understand.
Is there, like, the crappiest, lowest model Kia? It's still electric windows now, right? I mean...
somebody in chat can tell us.
Is there any options package I can get on a currently built car in North America that has a crank window?
I think like delivery vans, you can still get a crank window.
And then you can convert it into a camper. Like I've seen so many people do on YouTube now.
That'll be the Patreon. That'll come up in the Patreon podcast.
I've watched too many of those videos. I can't shut up about it.
Chris's DIY camping thing. Maybe that'll be a series of videos.
Remember,
I have to buy a van first.
Oh man! Again, we should talk about this on the podcast. But remember, we used to see that van all the time. Somebody had just put a regular window unit air conditioner in the van.
It was like about to fall out of the back.
Hey, there had to be a generator in there to run that, right? I mean, the
yeah.
electrical system couldn't handle that.
It just seems problematic.
It's not exactly stealth camping when you have an air conditioner hanging out.
If you convert a van, you should get a window unit air conditioner and put it in there,
though. Speaking of people that are trying to keep a low profile and just can't, so the story makes sense. Facebook's public relations chief is stepping down in a headline that surprised no one.
It's been a tough year for him, you have to admit.
He's probably been exhausted. Like what was the thing, like last news we were talking about? Like, we'll get that stuff out to you in 10 hours. And that guy was like getting ready to pack up and go home and see his family for the night. And he just went...
Well, actually, that was back in like a month ago. And then one of the next few stories is They just now delivered that 10.
Yeah, I know.
He's literally stepping down.
But yeah, that guy,
It's it's just...
he can't win. And do you think he knew about any of that stuff?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you think he did?
Yeah, I think
That's
he did.
just like a public relations guy?
I think he got an advance warning or a memo or something. Or probably Zuckerberg came in his dry, monotone, emotionless thing and was like, hey, we're doing this. You need to figure out a way to spin it. See ya.
Well, I imagine I don't think he knew all along. I think it was probably like, hey, some people are mad about this. Can you try to get ahead of it? And by the time he got that memo, it was probably already blown up.
But they talked about how he tried to get away in 2016. And Zuckerberg and the number 2, what's her name? Sandberg, like personally came to him and sat him down and were like, no, you can't leave. And I expect somebody told Zuckerberg and he like got on the phone and was like, the scapegoat is trying to escape. We must stop him.
Was that their code word?
Yeah.
Scapegoat.
the goat.
The goat. The goat's trying to get out.
Well, he's gotten away now, so I'm surprised they
Happy
haven't blamed
trails.
him for that, because Facebook has actually blamed a lot of contractors and other companies that they work with, and they're like, oh, we should do things a little bit better. But this contractor, man, we had no idea. We should have never trusted them.
I imagine he knows where some bodies are buried, and they're afraid to burn him. So he probably got a nice little retirement package.
Danish anti-piracy lawyers are trying to give themselves a nice little retirement package, but they got caught red-handed stealing from their copyright holders that they were working for. Yeah, so these lawyers have been working in an anti-piracy capacity, taking payments and doing all kinds of other stuff. Turns out it looks like they were laundering money, 3 of them.
Well, they were stealing the money that was coming in to pay for the violated copyrights. So, like, they were accusing people of stealing, and it's sort of a, is piracy really stealing? There's an argument. But then they were literally stealing. The one they pointed out, and this is a related story, the guy that wrote Fight Club, whose last name is really hard to pronounce, Palahniuk, or I don't know how you pronounce it, Chuck Palahniuk, something like that. He's an amazing author. I've read most of his books. They're really good. But he might be a little bit bad at business, because he had a copyright guy, and he was like, dude, I'm writing bestsellers left and right, and they got that Fight Club money, and I'm going broke. What's going on? And that guy was like, oh, it's piracy, bro. It's these pirates. And he was like constantly lashing out in public and tweeting about the pirates. It was that guy. He was stealing everything.
You didn't ask to see the books, or like...
Huh?
Maybe he'll get some justice. Maybe they'll be able to claw back some of that money.
Oh, it's probably long gone now.
Speaking of companies that take money unjustly and act holier than thou, I don't know where I was going with that. Sony is blocking Fortnite crossplay between PS4 and Nintendo Switch players. It's more inflammatory than that.
Well, the crossplay is true, but it's worse.
If you link your Fortnite account to Sony, it's like this disease where you can't play that account on anything but Sony's platform anymore.
So you can't. It's your Epic Games account. So you can't register. I don't know if it's true of the PC. I think PC might still work, but you can't link it to the Xbox, and now you can't link it to the Switch if you have previously linked it to PS4.
Even if you unlink it.
There is no unlink.
Yeah, because it's Sony.
You can delete everything in the account, and it still won't work.
That's amazing. Sony issued a press release about this that was hilarious and completely disconnected from reality.
Well, they didn't even. There was like, we have to be careful when we have third parties, and we don't control what's going on there. So these are children, and we have to be careful. And it's like, bro, that's got nothing to do with anything that's going on here.
At one point in the press release, they literally said, "Oh, there's 80 million players on the PlayStation Network. Play with one of those." And it's like,
But I don't like those people.
Sony just entered my never buy ever again thing.
Well, certainly, you can make a free Fortnite. At least is free, so you can make another free account and call it, whatever, Sony sucks or whatever, and use that to play on PS4 if you're going to.
But still, that's just, I don't know. It makes me sad because Sony actually makes a nice camera, and it's like, nope, not going to support Sony.
I kind of doubt the camera division and the console division
Yeah.
ever cross paths.
Yeah.
Those are just two circles.
It's probably true. Comcast has said that it isn't throttling heavy internet users anymore, but there's still
Hooray.
data caps and overage fees.
Oh.
So wait. So you're telling me that we repealed net neutrality so that Comcast could build up its infrastructure so we could have better internet, but it was better all along because apparently we don't need to throttle anything. We can just charge people more money?
Well, they did admit that they don't need to throttle because it's not a tax on the infrastructure anymore. But then the argument for the data cap is some people use too much data and it's a tax on the infrastructure?
I must be missing something here. It just seems like this is just a blatant cash grab.
Yeah, it's like they want more money and they're
Why would they
monopolistic so they don't have to worry about customer service.
Microsoft takes aim at Amazon with a push for checkout free retail. So I don't believe that at all.
Well, they were not able to really talk much about the technology. So
this is the demo. They've had this demo forever at Computex, and it's like they have like a little store kiosk setup thing, and you can go and you can get products, and you can do like a point of sale checkout. It really, honestly, like playing with it in person, it seems like a glorified point of sale system. It doesn't seem to be anywhere remotely as sophisticated as Amazon's checkout free thing.
And they're talking about partnering with Walmart, and let me tell you, you could bring in, like, who is the greatest product tester in the history of man? Whoever that is. You've got a product testing team, and they're like the Navy SEALs of product testing. And they could go 6 months putting this thing through its paces. You give it 1 day with the meth heads at Walmart, they're going to find 20 different ways to get free products out of this thing.
It's true. We laugh because it's true.
Walmart now, I went there the other day and it actually has, so when you're going through self-checkout, it has like a webcam pointed at you and you can see your face as you check. It's weird.
Just letting you know we're watching you.
Yeah. That's Big Brother's comfortable presence.
It was very weird.
AT&T has completed an $85 billion acquisition of Time Warner, which, this is the darkest timeline.
Well, it's really nothing new. I mean, there's that great chart that shows all the news providers and media providers, and they just slowly filter down to 3 or 4. And I guess we sort of paused for a while at 5 or 6 that we're at now. But I think it's inevitable that there will be one. There can be only one.
Hunger Games scenario.
Or Highlander, either one.
Yeah, you know what? It's like Battle Royale for media corporations. You destroy another one, you gobble up its loot.
Is it really Battle Royale, though, if the last 2 players just get together and it's like, why don't we just retire together in prosperity and with bathtubs full of cash?
See, I don't think...
That's the plot of Hunger Games.
I think it'll be the scorpion and the frog.
Yeah.
Because one will have to betray the other one. They won't...
It's just in their nature.
The lust for power will be too great for them to settle with.
Well, obviously that's going to be Disney, so it's going to be Disney on top.
But it'll be a backstab.
Yeah.
It won't be like a hostile takeover or something like that. It'll be some grand strategy that they use.
Amazon, Microsoft, and Uber are paying big money to kill a California privacy initiative. So in California, there's this bill that, like, if a company collects your personal information, that's one thing. But if they sell that or turn that into a product, that's another thing, and they have to involve you with that sale or whatever that product is. And these companies are fighting tooth and nail to kill that.
Yeah. Is it a bill? I think it might just be a nonprofit.
Like a draft or something?
Well, it's California Consumer Privacy Act. I guess it is a bill. But there's definitely one rich guy who's sort of spearheading the whole thing, and he's just got a ton of money, so he's just throwing money at it. And now these big companies are putting money into the counter, I don't know what you call them, PAC? Is it a PAC?
We didn't include a story in it, but there are a few people that are successfully taking Equifax and companies like that to court, small claims court, for the privacy breaches, and they're winning, surprisingly. That might be a story for next week.
I do not think that you will win against the likes of... we've seen what Amazon can do when they flex their muscle.
Yeah.
That's the richest man in the world you're messing with.
It's literally Lex Luthor. Like, he's got the kryptonite bullet. Just take you out. It's fine.
Except he doesn't even need kryptonite because you're not Superman. A standard bullet would suffice, but he insists
Yeah.
on using the kryptonite bullet.
Yeah, because he's that wealthy. Verizon's new phone plan proves it has no idea what unlimited actually means. So I read this, and I couldn't get to the end of the article because I was so mad. So Verizon is coming out with like this family unlimited plan, but you can pick, like, in the family plan you can pick whichever plan makes sense for each individual family member. But unlimited doesn't mean unlimited. It just throttles at different places. And also, if you use data with tethering is different than if you use data on the device. And data is data. And that anybody that tells you data is not data is lying to you and doing terrible things.
Yeah. This is their 5th or 6th unlimited plan, none of which have been unlimited.
This is not unlimited.
Unlimited with an asterisk at the side.
Yeah.
It's not unlimited. It's not even the right word. It would be like, this is banana meringue.
They actually have a little table in the marketing stuff where it's like, it says unlimited at the top, and then the table shows you where the limits kick in.
Yeah.
It's like, oh wait,
Didn't you just say this was unlimited?
limits unlimited.
Do we not have an effective, like the FTC or false advertising? Like, this is criminal. This is like, this is a felony. They should be going to prison.
You're misunderstanding it. Unlimited is the amount of money that you're allowed to give them.
For nothing in return. Less than
a little bit of data.
A little bit of data. Not much. Speaking of not much in return, the U.S. has filed criminal charges against Theranos' Elizabeth Holmes and Ramesh Balwani. So we reported a couple of weeks ago that they had been fined, I think, by the SEC, securities fraud, some other stuff like that. But that's a resolved matter. This is new stuff.
This is criminal. We also reported that she was back on the capital raising circuit, trying to get money for another startup. But that's going to be tough to do from prison.
Yeah, facing 20 years.
She might go for, I think, so we were talking about this earlier, and I think affluenza is the word that they use, like when these rich white kids drunk drive and kill somebody, but they don't do a day in jail. I don't think she'll do a day.
No, it seems unlikely. I mean, possibly, but it seems unlikely. You know, and far be it for me to criticize anybody's relationship choices, but according to the article, her boyfriend, Ramesh Sunny Balwani, he's 53.
Ooh.
She's like 20-something.
He was the COO, and she was the CEO.
The coup? Are you sure it wasn't the boo? That's why I get paid to make jokes.
Well, he's got his regrets now.
I think she might have been looking at the Fallout 4 perks chart and went for the Black Widow thing, I guess.
But she was the billionaire.
Well, but
the Black Widow usually does it for money, right?
She wouldn't have been the billionaire if she hadn't had everybody else's cash on which to bootstrap her billionaireness.
So you think he was the mastermind who actually got people, like, sold him the pitch, and she was just the pretty girl genius that tagged along.
Yeah.
And, like, locked it down.
It's like, look at this. I've got this golden goose that lays golden eggs.
Literally gold. Look at that hair.
We called her crazy eyes earlier, I think.
Yeah,
she does have the crazy eyes.
I can't. I hope they make this a movie. They should make it a movie called Valley of Needles or something. That would be good.
Valley of Needles. Valley of Slaughter.
Hackers crashed a bank's computers while attempting a Swift hack. We reported on the hack. There's some more info. So basically what the hackers did is they used some sort of like kill disk malware to wipe the master boot record on a bunch of computers in a bank, while they were also abusing the Swift network to steal about 10 million US.
This was in Chile.
It's Child.
The Banco de Chile.
So it's Child.
Child.
Yeah, the bank did not. I think when we reported on this previously, the bank had not admitted that they got any money, but they did.
They definitely did,
and that wasn't part of the kill disk thing. The kill disk was just
subterfuge.
Smoke, so that they could get into the Swift system, which is really good planning.
We should make a movie. It should be called like Oceans Chile.
Aren't they making a new Oceans movie? It's like released recently.
I think they did. Yeah.
I've lost count. But I guess they counted in the title, don't they? So I don't need to count.
I think, was it 11? I don't remember.
I think the new Oceans movie is not about the original Oceans crew. It's about like...
It's a group of women.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Wasn't 11 the first one?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think it's not now. It's like Oceans 8 or something.
Well, 11 was like the number of people.
Yeah.
It was... Why are we talking about this?
It's confusing because none of us watch movies. Ever.
Oh, these dogs sniff out cybercrime. Check it out. This is the dog that put Subway Jared away.
Oh, scroll down a little bit so we can see him a little bit better.
I can't because of the ad.
Oh, no, there he is.
There's the top of his head.
He's a lab.
I don't know. I think
Bless
that's a stock photo.
Is it a stock photo?
He's a good boy.
The one they show in the article was a blonde color.
He looks like Rue, but less tarded.
You think Rue could be a they call him something like electronic sniffing dog, ESD?
She'd probably be an okay sniffing dog. Now, we were talking earlier, and I asked Ryan, I was like, how do you think they train him? And he was
there's the
there's some
blonde one.
detail.
So once you become an electronic sniffing dog, you will never.
That's how I identify.
You will never eat normally again. You will only eat after you've been exposed to the smell of electronics, and you will only eat from a human hand.
That sounds about right.
So,
the training method.
Yeah, they got this powder that's like whatever that stuff is that goes into the electronics. So they'll like give the dog a snort of the powder and then feed it by hand, and they'll only do it after it's like unless they don't have time, they'll do it with the powder. But most of the time, they'll just hide their phone or something and make the dog find it and then feed it by hand.
Wow.
That sounds about right. Like for training, because especially that's probably why they're using labs too, because labs are fatties.
That sounds like a terrible existence for a dog.
It creates like a connection. Like this is a good thing happens if I find this.
And they say that only extremely food motivated dogs can be an electronic dog.
Why they chose labs? I bet Rue could do that because she's a fatty too. She likes.
But yeah, it is. It's pretty terrifying that micro SD cards specifically are targeted. So if you're thinking that you're hiding your Bitcoin wallet, forget it.
No, turns
some
out.
fat ass lab's gonna turn you in.
How long before you can import electronics in the U.S. that it has to be doped with some sort of chemical that only dogs can smell?
Or maybe you just keep a treat in your pocket.
Yeah.
That's the double-sided
Put
coin.
dog treats into the walls in your house. They'd probably end badly though because they would just destroy your house. They'd just shred it. Send it to the
I've
shredder.
heard that some people with drugs would take like cayenne powder or something, and they will charge you with assaulting an officer if you do that.
Wow.
Oh, it's like put that in your car and then like the dog sniffs
You
it.
put it on top of your drugs.
Aw. What'd the dog do to you other than put you away for having drugs?
Well, I don't think it's as much vengeance as it is like a strong smell to try and
Deter the dog.
It's like, oh, the dog didn't find drugs. They found this powder that's not drugs.
It's cayenne pepper.
You're storing a lot of herbs in your glove compartment, sir.
Well, our next story warmed the cockles of my heart because Cortana does not have the Hal bug. Open the pod bay doors, Hal. Nope, she'll help you change the password if you forget your password, even on somebody else's computer.
You pre-scrolled this story.
There we go. Cortana hack lets you change your passwords on locked PCs.
So this is, if you ask Cortana something, a prompt comes up on your lock screen. And if you start typing, you will interrupt Cortana. And then that prompt will let you do some things like search for files and
Or run things.
run things in the PowerShell. So what they did here was plug in a USB, ask Cortana a question, interrupted her, use that to find the file on the USB, which you could do through that box, and run a PowerShell script.
Neat.
They fixed it.
It's fixed, yeah. Unless you have a Windows computer that hasn't been patched, you're stuck. So
Yeah, if you can't patch, they suggest turning off Cortana, which we all know is not something they let you do.
Oh, I've tried. I've really tried. Deleted the DLLs. She comes back. Kind of like Hal. It's like Hal. I'm going to unplug Hal, and he's going to sing the Daisy song. And then tomorrow, he's just back like nothing ever happened. It's not good.
Anyway.
Dixons Carphone has suffered 2 major security breaches exposing customers' bank card details. So, Dixons Carphone, that's apparently a company name.
Yeah, Dixons
It took us a little while to figure that out.
Well, I mean, it sounds like, that's some sleazy place on the side of the road where you can get a car from 1988.
Yeah, Carphone. Like, how long ago did Carphone stop being a thing?
My dad had one when I was like 5.
So, yeah. But apparently they're like a small electronics store. We don't really have, I guess Radio Shack.
But Radio Shack's not really in anymore.
They're
Yeah.
gone. They're done.
So I think this is kind of like a Radio Shack of wherever this is, somewhere in Europe, I think.
They've 5.9 million credit cards have been stolen.
But they also had some, I I think, like prepaid cards that they lost.
Now, the company did stress that those 5.9 million cards were protected by chip and pin.
They also had some that weren't. I think those were the gift cards.
5.8 versus 5.9, yeah, in the gift cards.
So
Will that end them, you think?
I don't know.
Dixons Carphone, man.
It
rip
seemed
in
like
peace.
they had a lot of different stores. They had like 3 different kinds of chains
Franchises.
of stores. So that'd probably be okay.
This,
But that's got to be like GDPR violation, right?
yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. GDPR fines are going to be record. That might put them under. I wonder if the GDPR applies to this app. This is a Spanish soccer league app.
La Liga.
This is such a good story because I think probably this is an app that I don't know if you watch it live or what happens. I don't think you watch it live, but I think a lot of normies would use this app, don't you think?
Well, with 10 million downloads, yes.
European, yeah.
Yeah,
There's
and
not that many of us.
people who are just going to say yes to whatever. So if you do that, what you're saying yes to here is that this thing can take snippets of audio from your phone
At all times.
anytime it wants.
Yes. It's listening for you watching the soccer league game,
World Cup, probably.
Yeah.
and
Well,
it wants to
the
know your
entire
GPS
league.
location of where you are. And if you're in a commercial location, it's going to go after the people that are showing you the World Cup.
Make
This
sure
is-
they have the
no,
license.
It's definitely not World Cup.
Or not World Cup,
It's
but the
Spanish
soccer
Soccer League. So many people are going to correct you on that.
Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, it's trying to find out. So you have to pay a fee to show these games in certain establishments because you bring people in. So they're trying to track those people down, and they're using you as the snitch. So they're going to target your location. If you're in a bar and they're watching a soccer game that they haven't paid for, they're going to know because of you.
Yeah, it's like, it doesn't, their defense of this is really kind of slimy too. It's like, oh yeah, the functionality was added last Friday and enabled only after users click yes to an Android dialog if the app can access the microphone and geolocation of the device. But it didn't tell you why it wanted that, and the reason was...
They never do, though. I mean,
Well, hopefully you would question it. It's like, why does the soccer app need to listen to me?
that's almost all of them have those really invasive
Yes.
requests now, though, and it's like, what do you need my camera for?
They also said that they won't like ever listen to the audio. They use, the AI listens, and they're listening to a supersonic signal. But do we believe that? I don't.
No.
I mean, that's such a great way to data mine.
This is literally like, we're going to post Stasi in every commercial establishment ever in order to ensure that no one is breaking the law.
Yeah. This is making a lot of noise. I don't know if the microphones can pick
I
that
don't
up or
think the
not.
mics can because the headphones are down on the floor, but I can hear it from over
But
here.
ZDNet it's one of the few websites that doesn't auto mute anymore. They're terrible.
I wonder how it bypasses that, because that's a thing. Chrome should totally be muting it. I've had to do it manually.
Maybe
a few times.
they're paying them.
Could be. This story is exciting because the Intel CPU security holes just keep getting deeper. Now, we've reported on Spectre and Meltdown, I don't know, like 20 times. This is another vulnerability in Intel CPUs that's different than Meltdown or Spectre. This has to do with save and restore floating point registers.
And importantly, only Intel.
Yeah.
The other processors,
Bad year for
other
Intel.
processors not affected by this. So this is about when you have your registry states for your apps. There's a lazy state, like a lazy load. When you scroll down on Imager on mobile and it doesn't load fast enough, that's a lazy load. So that same kind of thing is going on in your operating system. And so other programs could access those floating point registries because they're lazy loading. It's easy to fix. They've already patched it, but it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know why Intel, why you do this. I mean, they should know that you have to reset the registers when you change the context of execution from one program to another. They have to know that. And actually, I think in more recent CPUs, there is a fix for that, or there's an instruction that does that when there's a context switch, but older CPUs don't have that.
No, I think this was right up until the most recent ones.
Well, I think the fix is already in Red Hat because of that instruction. So like with Red Hat, it's like, oh, we just need to issue the patch for that, or the instruction for that to clear those registers so it doesn't have access to that. So,
But the CPUs themselves,
yeah, the CPUs themselves don't.
and actually they talk about how the because it's not lazy anymore, this would actually improve performance.
Yeah.
So, talk about a bad idea.
If you're using Red Hat 7, your Red Hat 7 already implements the instruction on context switch that clears the floating point registers, so you don't have to worry about that. But not everything else does. So
It will soon.
yeah, I definitely will soon.
Also, very hard to use that for an exploit. It's not an easy thing to get to.
Yeah.
But again, given Intel's recent past, it's just fuel to the fire.
Depending on what algorithm you're using, floating point may also be problematic depending on what encryption algorithm you're using, because you may be leaking cryptographic data if the cryptographic algorithm uses the floating point registers. So that may be, it's like you can't exploit it to read that cat picture that's in memory, but you might be able to use it to get a decryption key. I don't know. We'll see. Cops are confident that iPhone hackers have found a workaround to Apple's new security feature. So this is, if you have been living under a rock, the newest iPhone update won't let you unlock the phone through USB if you haven't unlocked the phone through the screen in the last hour.
So the idea is cops seize your phone, and although I would say it's like maybe you haven't unlocked it recently, but with modern people, probably never more than 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But can they get that phone checked into evidence and back to the police station and back to their gray key fast enough to break it? And Apple's saying probably not, because you have to commit the crime. Pro criminal tip. After you've committed a crime, don't unlock your phone for a day or two.
Don't take your phone with you while committing a crime.
Also an excellent criminal tip.
That's a twofer. A 2-for-1 this week.
Somebody someday is going to compile all those, and it's just going to be terrible.
It's going to be an excellent source of data for criminals is what it's going to be.
Pro criminal tip. Get a snack before you go so you don't have to make a pit stop on your way home.
Because you don't want to go into the arrest tank with an empty stomach.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this motherboard article also seems to suggest that they've contacted some in law enforcement who've said that they've asked Gray Key about that, and Gray Key's like, yeah, don't worry about the Apple lockout. We've got a workaround for that.
They say they have a beta right now that already beats it. But law enforcement says that Gray Key says. Gray Key, or Gray Shift, I think is the name of the company, is saying nothing to the press. They are not commenting. But
It's probably wise.
If they can't fix it, do you think, I don't know, I mean, would refunds come into play? Because it's, law enforcement, they've got a record for being a little bit vindictive. Maybe not the kind of people you want to piss off because they're powerful and catty.
I think it's only a matter of time, though. I think that the phones are so sophisticated that even if there's no way to break into it right now today, if you just sit on it for 6 months, there's going to be a way to break into it 6 months from now.
And the way the court time plays out,
yeah,
they get to keep all your evidence for the
Forever.
duration. So, yeah, that's probably. They do go into like how it brute forces, and I don't understand why Apple just doesn't change it. So because if it's been recently unlocked, the USB can try so many thousand different logins.
Yeah, why would they even do that?
Why turn that down to like 200, right?
Yeah,
But,
or not even 200.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, seems obvious. It's almost like Apple is doing just enough.
just enough to get the headline.
Speaking of companies doing just enough to get the headline, Kaspersky has halted its Europol and NoMoreRansom project cooperation after the EU Parliament vote. So Kaspersky's been in the news here in the U.S. because the U.S. has been like, we don't trust Kaspersky. That's a wing of the Russians. But so far in the European Union, that hasn't been the case until now.
And they just lost their appeal. Was it last week or the week before?
I think it was last week.
So definitely can't get it here in the U.S.
So what was it? The motion? It's like the motion.
Well, it was. They didn't really rule against Kaspersky exactly, but when they were, detailing like malicious companies to watch out for in this bill, they used Kaspersky as the example.
Yeah. Here's the quote. Calls on the EU to perform a comprehensive review of software, IT, and communications equipment infrastructure and institutions in order to exclude potentially dangerous programs and devices and to ban the ones that have been confirmed as malicious, such as Kaspersky Lab. And up until this point, Kaspersky was helping them with investigations of malware and, that sort of stuff.
How much does that spelling of programs drive you crazy? I can't stand it.
Program ES.
Programmis. That's how they pronounce it in Britain. Programmis.
But yeah, poor Kaspersky, they just can't catch a break, man.
It's a potato with an E.
Now here's the thing. I think they might have apologized for this, but do you think that whoever wrote this, they're non-technical, obviously, because they work in the government.
They were just reading the Wall Street Journal headline.
Yeah, exactly. And they were like, ooh, Kaspersky, they're dangerous. I'm going to put them
that
in
name sounds dangerous.
Right.
But why? It's just... we have protected the EU for 20 years, working with law enforcement, leading to multiple arrests of cyber criminals. Kaspersky Labs
No,
CEO.
You're not reading that correctly. It's multiple arrests of cyber criminals.
Based upon today's decision of the EU Parliament, we are forced to freeze our cooperation with the org executing Europol and NoMoreRansom.
I like to imagine that Kaspersky really hasn't done anything wrong. And that they're just getting discriminated against because they have a Russian-sounding name.
It's possible. I don't think anybody has offered any hard evidence.
Yeah.
But I also don't think that matters. I think they are... It shows... Now, if it was, as we suspect, that this... They didn't find anything... No one knows exactly anything wrong Kaspersky did in the EU. They just put them in there because they've seen the U.S. press.
Yeah.
Then that... I think that is kind of like proof that we are maligning them and destroying their name with what we're doing with no evidence.
The name Kaspersky will disappear from this planet.
That's like saying all those Cisco backdoors we reported on were the direct result of the NSA.
Except you're not allowed to ban the NSA.
We could ban Cisco in other countries. It's a thing, right? Speaking of things that you need to look into if you're a system administrator, do you use Docker? Because these 17 backdoored images you might want to look into and check your list of Docker containers that have been deployed in your organization against this list of 17, because these 17 had cryptocurrency miners and backdoors.
Yeah, reverse shells. And it was all very common stuff like MySQL and Python and something that you would definitely use. But it was all Docker 123321.
That was the account that added them.
And it was in the name of the images too. So if you chose a Docker 123321 image,
just go grep through those.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
Yeah, it's Tomcat, Tomcat 11, Tomcat 22, KK, MySQL. Yeah, this is just...
There's a lot of them. 17.
Well, that's probably bad. It's probably bad.
You've been mining coins for somebody. The good news is your performance is going to get better after you uninstall.
Our next story, I really have to point and laugh because bugs have allowed hackers to make malware look like Apple software. So apparently on Apple, when you cryptographically sign a file, it just puts a header on the file and it doesn't check anything else.
Well, the Apple security check doesn't look at anything else if it finds the header.
Yeah.
So some enterprising malware authors figured that out, and they said, what if I just put that header on my file that's malicious? You think it would get through? Yes, is the answer.
Fantastic.
So
let's send this to everybody.
The Apple, it literally is like, oh, that's us.
Apple.
Go on through. It's like if you had a nun driving a bus and the entire back of the bus was terrorists and it drove up to the border and they were like, oh, sister, go on through.
That's, who is in the security department at Apple on the desktop operating systems? Is it the interns? Is literally everybody working on the mobile operating system at this point? Because how does this happen?
It's just a Labrador retriever they've trained to do the job. They hand feed him.
It's an electronic sniffing dog.
That's retired. It's got the glasses at the front desk. And it's like, oh, they're so cute.
Half the time they go in the office, he's just napping.
I wonder if the electronic sniffing dog, he's been eating out of a human's hand for so long, and then he retires, and someone sits him down a full bowl of food. What kind of emotions does he have at that? I would like to see that.
I imagine that they maybe stop doing that after he's trained.
No. They say until he retires, they put it in that thing. He will never eat from anything but a human hand because it reinforces it every day.
That's interesting. I've heard that sometimes you should do that with puppies when you're trying to train them out of puppy biting, but I never knew you could do that forever. I wouldn't want to do that forever because dogs are messy when they eat.
That's true. You're always going to have one slobbery
hand.
Oh, but you're going to have to wait until Friday for your slobbery hand.
Join our forum for more comments like that.
don't know. We'll see you Friday.